Everyone loves a cult classic, but sometimes what made a TV show great doesn't withstand the test of time. Homophobia, racism, or clumsy special effects can make them hard to watch today. This cult series that follows the life of Carrie Bradshaw, starring Sarah Jessica Parker, Kim Cattrall, Kristen Davis, and Cynthia Nixon, encouraged the emancipation of young women in the 90s by tackling subjects like female desire, self-pleasure, and celibacy. But can we really consider a series that celebrates excessive consumption featuring rich, white women feminist? Let's just say that you have to take the era it came from into consideration when you watch it today. With its female characters portrayed as complete ditzes, this series broadcast in the 60s is definitely a product of its time. The cardboard set pieces and the island setting so obviously created in a studio with excessive lighting both contribute to the outdated look of Gilligan and Company. With female characters that took their husbands' names, Mrs. Fred Flintstone, and its stereotypical division of labor, it's sometimes hard to know if this 1960s series actually depicts the Stone Age or the Stone Age. One thing is certain, some of the characters are real dinosaurs. Maybe it's because we now know that baby Michelle wasn't played by a single brilliant child actor, but that she was portrayed alternately by twins Ashley and Mary-Kate Olsen. Or maybe it's because of John Stamos' mullet, which, over time, has become harder and harder to look at. Either way, it's difficult to follow the adventures of the Tanner family without cringing. Scenes that feature the lifeguards, especially the female lifeguards, running in slow motion like something out of an erotic film, minus the full nudity, coupled with particularly poor scriptwriting, make Baywatch totally passé. We watch reruns to remember the good old days of Pamela Anderson and David Hasselhoff's careers. Despite it being an important landmark for the African American community, it's hard to watch The Cosby Show today without thinking about the dozens of women who have accused the lead actor, Bill Cosby, of drugging and sexually assaulting them. In September 2018, Bill Cosby was found guilty of sexual assault. Did you know that the expression to jump the shark means the moment when something has overstayed its welcome? The phrase was inspired by an episode of Season 5 of Happy Days, broadcast in 1977, where Fonzie jumps over a shark on water skis. This episode has been identified as the moment when the series lost all credibility. Bette, Tina, Alice, Shane, and Dana were important characters for lesbians at the turn of the new millennium, a time when love between women was virtually absent from the cultural landscape. After the #MeToo movement, however, we view the series in a new light and wonder if there should be an inquiry into sexual abuse between the women. This iconic series from the 1950s is a reflection of its era and foibles. As the title indicates, a father's authority is set in stone. Conservative values of the time, religion, the family unit, female subordination, are on full display in this anthropological relic that should be watched with a critical eye. With its predictable writing, Too Perfect Hero, and tedious production, Walker, Texas Ranger has become a caricature of a corny cop show. Still, it's a highlight in Chuck Norris's career, which makes it that much cheesier. It's hard to knock this famous anti-hero, but Dexter's fictional stories pale in comparison to those of true crime series like Making a Murderer, Evil Genius, or The Staircase, where we're thrust into real crime stories with real forensic experts. Yes, it was cute to see Neil Patrick Harris become a doctor at 14, it made us dream, and maybe feel a little dumb in comparison. But with all the recent medical series with incredibly high production values, the adventures of the young doctor seem ridiculous today. This series featured Samantha, a witch that was supposed to be just a mother of an ordinary family. When it was first broadcast in the 60s, the show captivated audiences with its special effects that had yet to be seen by the viewing public of the time. Samantha could make things appear and disappear simply by wiggling her nose. Today, the shortcomings of these special effects are pretty obvious. That said, the feminist critique of women being confined to domestic roles is still relevant today. First broadcast in the 80s, the Canadian series Degrassi has been mocked more than once as a rather clumsy attempt by adults at portraying the reality of adolescence. Today, the episodes, dripping with teenage drama, make us laugh pretty hard, not to mention the outfits. Looking back at the scandal that followed Ellen Morgan's coming out as a lesbian in this sitcom, it's hard not to have sympathy for the actor who played her, Ellen DeGeneres, who was in the closet for the first 4 years of the series named after her. Today, Ellen DeGeneres has become so popular that it's hard to separate the person from her likable character. Like many series from the 80s and 90s, Seinfeld betrays its age in its approach to issues of sexual and cultural diversity. The program is sometimes accused of using homophobic or racist slurs, like the expression, Indian giver, which today is considered offensive to First Nations peoples. One thing is clear, Jerry Seinfeld wouldn't depict his New York stand-up comedian life the same way today. What a hero Columbo was, always able to solve the greatest mysteries despite his apparent ineptitude. We saw him wrap up his investigations so many times that the plots became utterly predictable. The original series started in 1971, but even its revival, broadcast until 2003, shows its age by its outdated visual style. Friends branded Generation X like a red-hot iron. It redefined our idea of friendship and made us laugh, but the series hasn't aged well. Despite dealing with progressive subjects of its day, like assisted reproduction, homosexual parenting, and pornography, Friends is sometimes accused of being homophobic, especially when they make fun of Ross's first wife, who left him for another woman. But it doesn't stop us from seeing Ross, Joey, Monica, Rachel, Phoebe, and Chandler as our friends for life.